Hi, my name's Jen Lagath, and this is my Module 6 data collection, and I focused on checklists. So, Mertler defines checklists as a list of behaviors, characteristics, or skills that a researcher is interested in investigating. Checklists include a set response. Options for checklists would include answers such as like yes, no, observed, not observed. There's always a set criteria to which you are observing or taking a poll. They're simply used to determine if a behavior or characteristic is observed or not observed. And these behaviors or characteristics have to be set forth before actually doing the observation. So checklists are a quantitative technique, meaning it can be counted, like was it there, was it observable or not. The text mentions a few different questions. Some include yes, no questions, or if a behavior is observed or not. Another example I found was from my research methods book. In this case, a researcher polled students on the research topic they most enjoyed. So they set forth 4 options for kids to choose from. This was a way to gather data that had a set number of responses. You can also gather data through a checklist that asks the participants to select something all that apply. Again, Macmillan in my research method posed check as many apply that the topics in research that I find very useful are. And then it listed 4 specific types of research. Again, this checklist has a set amount of responses. So again, another example was check a category in which they apply schools. Do you attend school full-time, part-time, etc.? These are the 2 examples that were included in the text this week. Obviously, one is the independent reading checklist. Again, was the set criteria, observed, not observed. And then a discussion group, yes or no questions. It's very cut and dry. Okay, so some strengths. Some strengths that I found that with this data collection is you can collect data from several participants at once. Obviously, the example that Macmillan gave in my research methods was, polling students on the type of research method. You could send that out to an entire class section or whatever, and you could gather data all at once. So also, like, I could take a poll on whether students are fully hybrid or remote in my class all at once. Another benefit is that checklists are adaptable to different subjects. Obviously, you have to create the criteria first of which you're looking to observe, and then you could use it across the board in different subjects, or observing behavior across classes. So if you wanted to poll a student's participation in one subject versus another, you could use a checklist for that. Some of the text mentions that checklists are quicker to use than surveys. They're a simple method to record observations. The simplicity of observed, not observed, or yes or no make them quick data collection techniques. The weaknesses that I found is that obviously it doesn't provide a lot of detail. Turned in assignments, yes or no. Doesn't tell me the quality of the assignment or anything else. So it's pretty, it doesn't allow any detail or, deeper information to be drawn from it. It doesn't indicate a quality, as I mentioned before, of a product, just whether something is observed or not observed. So you're limited in the information that it provides. And the text mentions that it has a limited use in qualitative research. Concerns that I have. So my number one concern would be that making sure that the criteria of the checklist is not subjective. Mertler stated that it is important for teachers to critically examine the individual items and overall content coverage on a survey rating scale checklist test in order to ensure that they're measuring what they're intended to measure. So I did read that checklists take some time to create because you really do need to make sure your criteria is not subjective and you can actually measure what you're looking for when you're doing your research. They can be reliable and valid when you've designed the specific criteria. Um, can provide valid, specific, actionable answers if questions are written correctly. It kind of continually goes back to, how are these questions being written? Um, Mertler also encouraged creating checklists with a manageable number of items to observe so that you don't overwhelm yourself. But it also helps cut down on, focusing on what you're really trying to draw from this observation. And the last one was when designing checklists, ensure topics are not overlapping. I read a good additional questionnaire about what makes a good checklist, not good checklist, and this one was taking a poll on why people were leaving Boston University. And it said check what applies, and the one was, talking about the commute to work and how they commute to work. There was an overlap in that, so it kind of cut down on how people could respond to the question. So I think it really boils down to making sure that the questions that you're asking don't overlap and that the answers are not subjective. Here is the book. I don't know if anybody else was in the class. Also had a lot of good information about quantitative and qualitative research methods. So thank you.